Namaste to all. Thank you all once again for giving me an opportunity to present our insights. I know this particular topic is not intended to hurt anyone or to cause any ill feeling to any person, but it is only I'm sharing the insights that I got because of homeopathy. That is why I thought I should share this in this platform. You know, we passed out of the veterinary college and we are actually in the allopathic system of medicine. But in the due course of our professional life, we came across this homeopathic system of medicine, and that has helped us in a lot of ways, not only in curing the animals, but also it has made a lot of change in our lives. That is where that is why I wanted this particular topic to be presented today. So please, in any case, any of the statements that I try to make here is not at all intended at any person here who's attending the presentation or maybe hearing later on. So I take this opportunity to start the presentation. The topic that came was the function of health professionals. So here the word that I'm stressing is health, which I doubt has been taught by in any system, where it may be it homeopathy, be it allopathy, or even Ayurveda. I doubt whether this health has been really taught. That is what I've understood. To understand the role of a health professional, I would like to bring in your attention a Vedic indicator for quality of life. This is a sloga from the Vedas. And the sloga goes on like Swasti Prajapya Paripalayandam Nyayena Margena Mahim Mahisha Go Brahmanebhya Shubhamstu Nityam Loga Samasta Sugino Bhavandu. That is, it can be seen as a holistic context to any person, any species that is now residing in this planet. May there be well-being to the people. May the kings rule the earth along the right path. May the Mother Earth, cattle, our senses. The actually go means these three things come: Mother Earth, cattle, and our senses. And the wise men have well-being forever. Actually, the previous sentence, may the kings rule the earth along the right path. It is with the help of the wise men, actually. The wise men. I am including the health professionals under this category, the wise men in a society, wherein they are the ones who are supposed to advise the king to rule on the right path, because they are the ones who are supposed to be knowing about health and to manage the whole thing so that everybody lives in a healthy, happy life. So that is why I put this particular slogan, because I consider the wise men in a community as the health professionals. And the Mother Earth, cattle, and our senses. Here, why these three things are meant here is a society that has been led by the wise men. The indicator of that prosperity of that particular thing, as you see GDP now, that time it was to be understood the abundance that comes out of that Mother Earth by proper management. The abundance, the biodiversity, the abundance of water, clean air, everything that comes in that particular community is what is meant by here Mother Earth. And the cattle means abundant milk. And the census means all these two things satisfy our senses. So that these three things, when these three things are happy, it means that the particular community that is managed by the kings is living, the people are happy living there. And with respect to cattle, what I would like to stress here is the cow and the calf are kept together, and even then there is excess milk. Today, the milk that we get in the market is because we have separated the cow and the calf, not because of the quality of land or the consciousness of the people. It is because we have kept the cow and the calf separated. So that doesn't mean the things are ruling properly also. So that is where it comes to. So this is the GDP of today is actually, this is the measurement of those types, how it is seen. And so I see the wise men as the health professionals I'm including in the wise men group. May all the beings in all the worlds become happy. That is, it is not only for human beings, for all the species, for all the 84 lakh species become happy. Peace, peace, and peace be everywhere. This is where I see the health professionals and the result of the health professionals performing their functions, how it affects the community. So the context for this presentation, that is, context means the circumstances that form the setting for an event. So what is the circumstance that Sandarbha for this particular event is? Why I am making this presentation is we want stable families living peaceful lives in prosperity and physical security, while free to pursue our own spiritual or religious beliefs. We want adequate, nutritious food and clean water, that is real food and real water. We want real education that ensures the nutritious food and clean water and health in balanced lives, with time for family, friends and community, and leisure for cultural and other pursuits, all to be ensured for many generations to come on a foundation of ethical and humane behavior to all life, regenerating soils and biologically diverse communities on Earth's land and in her rivers, lakes, and oceans. This is considering the whole that has been created here. This is the context, and I will request you to, in any case, I deviate from this context, please let me know that. So all the things that I am presenting here today is supposed to be adhering to this particular context. As a veterinarian, there's a context that is, that I have to be very much seen. The protection of animal health and welfare has to be my first priority. So here also animal health comes, that word health comes, and welfare, that is to be seen. So here also it is not only for human animals, the conservation of animal resources, the promotion of public health, and the advancement of medical knowledge. So it is not just for human beings, animals, it is for all. This Loga Samasta Suginobhav. This is the context that as a veterinarian has to be following. And this is the one that as a homeopath has to be following. This is the declaration and oath that a homeopath takes at the time of registration. So in this, I'm taking into that, I will maintain the utmost respect for human life. And the sixth one, I'm giving more priority, the health of my patient. And again, here comes the health. The health of my patient shall be my first consideration. All other things are there, but I'm just highlighting on the health aspect that's being told here, because it is for the health professionals. What is the definition given by WHO regard to health is, in 1948, they're given the health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Not just we are curing the diseases, they have to be free from diseases. That is where the health definition comes. And today, the latest definition in 1986, what they gave is health is seen as a resource for everyday life. So not at the objective of living. Health is a positive concept emphasizing social and personal resources as well as physical capacities. So again, we are coming into that. And so here comes what is that the WHO is expecting from health professionals is they play a central and critical role in improving access to quality health. Again, health comes for the population. They provide essential services that promote health, prevent disease, and deliver health care to individuals, families, and communities based on the primary health care approach. So we need to take decisions in a day-to-day life, and that term is nischaya buddhi, that proper decisions have to be taken. We take a lot of decisions on a day-to-day basis with an objective to meet a desire, a need, or to solve a problem. Usually all decisions that we take are for these three things. It's a desire, it's a need, or to solve a problem. But the decision has to be in line with our context. As I've told, there's a context in our life, that may be quality life that you want to live in. And all the decisions that you take, even if it is for a need, a desire, or to solve a problem, it has to be in line with our context. Our decisions are based on or influenced by the paradigm. What is the paradigm? Paradigm is the way we see things. That is what a paradigm means. So all our decisions are influenced by the way we see things. Unintended consequences shall arise if the decisions are not in line with our context, because the decision might not have addressed the cause of the problem. Even if you are taking a decision to meet a desire, a need, or solve a problem, it has to address the cause of the problem. Then only that unintended consequences can be removed. So to solve these unintended consequences, we shall need to shift from the belief that influenced our previous decision. That is how it happens. So what is the paradigm in which this presentation is made is I've taken from Ishopanishad. The meaning is that that is Om Purnamada Purnamidam. That means the creator who has created this universe is complete and perfect, and what he has created is also perfect. There is no need for any species to invent anything to live in this particular system. That perfectly it has been created. That is the paradigm on which this particular presentation is made. Homeopathy is the stepping stone to understand the bigger whole. That is, you see all, as you see this, that round around here, there are smaller, all the species form a whole in the bigger whole. And each smaller whole has a function to play for the bigger whole. That means it is fully connected. It is so complex connection, very much connected that you cannot manage any one species without causing an unintended or intended consequence on the other species. We cannot manage any species as a part in nature. That is how it is made. So we are in the nature. There are no parts in nature, no room for competition or neglect. You see on the left side, you see that is the way reductionist management means. We are managing the whole thing. Everything is for me, anthropocentric. It's a reductionist because you are seeing only one species that is there. All the others are my servants. All decisions we do not consider, do not consider the well-being of the other species. Health to human beings shall not be achieved without considering the whole. The right side you see, that is the holistic management. We are in the nature, we are not away from nature, and nature is something and we are something somewhere away and we are trying to manage. No, we are in the nature. All decisions made simultaneously considers the well-being of all the other species. The habitat for all the species is one and the same. We are not in a different habitat. All the species are around us. We are not a separate species in this. That is the main paradigm that we need to understand. And when we are in the nature, then there is no option for any competition in nature. It has to go with cooperation. All the technological inventions that we have made, see, in the paradigm is that everything, we needn't invent anything here because it's a pakka perfect system made by a perfect personality. So all the technological inventions that man has made, all technological inventions are man-made. It's a connection of parts. There is a chip and the parts are connected. And hence damage of one part leads to the stoppage of the equipment. It may stop functioning. That means it is complicated. And you need a professional who is trained in that to come and repair it. And when the part is set, again, the system starts to function. But nature is not man-made. We are just managing or orchestrating it. Even by a wrong management, or by a wrong decision that we have taken, it doesn't stop functioning. Instead, it self-organizes and keeps functioning, maybe with an unintended consequence, which is we call as the disease. Which means nature is not to be managed in parts, but as a whole. Hence, there is no room for competition in nature. Usually, in the present reductionist paradigm, we find blame. We blame on something, actually, to be the cause of the disease. Like, even for COVID also, we are blaming the coronavirus for. Actually, it is not the virus. It is like, when you're shooting someone, you're blaming the gun for shooting. It is not like that. It is the decision maker has decided to pull the trigger, and I have decided to use a gun to kill a particular person by shooting at a particular area. That is how I have killed that person. So it is always a decision that is the cause for the problems that or any disease condition you see. It is never that particular thing. It is the decision that we have taken. The diseases we see in any species are just unintended consequences arising out of the decisions we have taken to manage these species without understanding the complexity. So the cause of a disease or a problem is actually the decision that we have taken. Somewhere, or maybe in the past, someone has taken a decision. And that decision is actually the cause for this. Even for whichever problem you take, there is a decision that is the cause of that. The real cure from disease shall happen only if the cause is addressed. That means the decision has to be reverted. It has to be rechecked and a proper decision has to come. Then only actually you get a proper real cure or a prevention. Otherwise, it will only be a suppression. So function of health professionals, it is, we have now understood that it is a decision making. Whole thing, the disease is caused by a decision. And to get the health professionals' function as happens to be to help the people and the policy makers, that is the government, to take right decisions. That is, I told you, the health professionals belong to the wise people in a community. So they have to help the policy makers and the people to take right decisions in accordance with the context to lead a healthy and a happy life. For this, we need to understand, to be able to help the people to take the right decisions, we may need to understand and clear the wrong paradigm. We should be understanding what are the paradigms that are influencing. Many things that are now traditional are wrong paradigms. We have to actually check all the traditions that are being followed in the society now. I will come into it for each thing, how we could clear, especially with respect to one of the major diseases that we see in cows is mastitis. It was a traditional decision that is seen as a tradition that actually caused that problem. And by removing that the particular decision, we could 98% control mastitis other than for injuries, mastitis caused by injuries. All other problems we could solve just by changing the decision existing in the society. To understand the paradigms, we need to be environmental literate. We need to have that environmental literacy, not just the literacy to read and write. We have to be environmentally literate. We need to be economically literate. You see, economics actually means eco plus nomics. It actually means eco means nature and nomics means the law of. Actually, economics doesn't mean the manage of money. It means it is the laws of nature. And even the money making also has to be in accordance with the laws of nature. Otherwise, all the money, the richest man may be the person who has made the maximum damage to nature. That is how it correlates. It is directly proportionate to the quantum of damage you have done, the quantity of money that comes to you, because that is how it. So we need to be environmentally literate, economically literate, and socially literate. That means we have to be role models in the society because we are the wise men in the population. Wrong paradigms. What will happen is we'll have the elephant in the living room. All these problems that are written on the elephant is because of the wrong decisions and the wrong paradigms. So that is why there is disfigurement in the society. All the diseases, pollution, extinction, weeds, whatever it is, it's as a result of a wrong decision that you have taken with a wrong paradigm. This elephant in the room is a big issue everyone is aware of, but which is being ignored because everybody finds discussion about it as uncomfortable. So now let us understand what health means with respect to the in the terms of farming or with respect to environment. In organic movement, the birthright of all living things is health. It's a birthright. This law is true for the soil, the plant, the animal, and man. The health of these four is one connected chain. That is, health of soil is connected to the health of plants, is connected to the animal health, and it is connected to the health of man. The health of these four is one connected chain. Any weakness or defect in the health of any earlier link in the chain is carried on to the next and succeeding links until it reaches the last, namely the man. That is the sequence. That is the chain, how it functions. So this is very important thing, the next one. The widespread vegetable and animal pests and diseases are the evidence of a great failure of health in the plant. That is the second one. And the animal. If it is affecting the pest is in the with the respect to the plant, it is because of the failure in the health of the plant and the failure in the health of the animal. If it is the pest is affecting the animal, links of the chain. As a consequence of this failure in the plants and animal links, there will be impairment of health in the human population because this is how it is. So now I'm asking a question to you. See, when we have understood as per this principle that the failure in the health of the plant is the cause of a pest attack, then by changing, see, there are two ways. This is seeing change in the way we see things. That is, now we are seeing that the health of the plant is what causes the pest attack. If it is not healthy, that is the pest attack. Now, in the farming practice today, we have shifted, we have changed the way we do things. That is, instead of applying inorganic pesticide or a chemical, now we are saying organic means we have changed the pesticide from an inorganic to organic. So then how can that food be good? Because it is very clearly understood that it is the health of the plant that decides the quality of the produce. So if the plant is not healthy, by changing the pesticide, how is it that you are making the produce healthy? Still, it is from the same unhealthy plant. So change in the way we do things is not going to change the produce. We have to change the way we see things. We have to make the plant healthy by making the previous link proper. So why? If the plant health is not good, it will affect animal health and it will finally affect the human health. That is how the link is. This general failure in the last three links is to be attributed to the failure in the first link, the soil. That is from where the whole thing starts. That is our life-sustaining element, the soil. The undernourishment of the soil is at the root of all. So health, which is our birthright, is related, is proportionate to the health of the soil. It is not just the soil itself, it is the soil life that is most important element. Is there life in the soil? That decides the health of the plant, the health of the soil, the health of the plant, the health of the animals, and our health. That is how the link is. What is the soil life? There's the micro and the macro life in the soil. See, 1 tablespoon of soil has approximately 1 billion soil microbes. 1 tablespoon. 1 drop of the fluid in the rumen of the cow has 7 times, 10 times the more. 1 drop, I'm talking about 1 drop of the rumen fluid has 10 times more than the population of this world. That much microbes are there around us. Different species. And the other one, the macro life also, or different types of macro. All have their own specific functions which help the betterment of our whole that we are managing. And it is then only that the health is assured to us. So that it means the soil health that decides our health through the other link that we have to get it. The continued capacity of a soil to function as a vital living ecosystem that sustains plants, animals. It is the continued capacity. It has to be continued. It cannot stop during summer season. It has to be continuous. Plants should be growing throughout the year. That is how it has to be designed. Then only soil health is ensured. So now the question is, can we experience this continued functional capacity from a soil? You see on the right side, the soil that is bare, hungry, thirsty, with high fever, as soil gets heated up because she is exposed to direct sunlight. Can we get continued functional capacity from such a soil? Can we get continued capacity from the second picture, wherein the more you produce, the more the soil is going. Bleeding landscape, a land that permits the soil to get eroded when it rains. Are we able to produce more food than eroding soil? As per the present data, it is understood that 10 times the produce that you get from a land, that much soil is eroding every season. And it is estimated by UN that we have only 60 more harvests. That is 60 more, the soil is there only for 60 more years. That much has been eroded. So can we expect a quality life from such a soil? A landscape that has third-degree burns, that is, you have burned it, and then can you expect from such a soil a quality life? Can a soil that is naked, hungry, thirsty, and running a high fever, can we expect a quality life or a continued health from the soil, from such a land? We shall not expect health when the sunlight. See, this is very important. Please note this. We shall not expect health when the sunlight, that means the natural resources, the sunlight, rain, and air falls directly on the soil. You can travel from wherever you are, you travel to the north. In almost all the states, you see bare soil everywhere. Only during the time when it is growing, it is there. And how do you think we can have a healthy people around us? This is something every health professional has to understand and teach the public. So when you have such a poorly managed landscape, that is what leads to the elephant in the living room. So to achieve the quality of life we are looking for, we need a holistically managed landscape. But the known truth is that without agriculture, is it possible to have a city without agriculture, a stock market, banks, university, place of worship, or army? Without agriculture, you cannot have any of these things. Agriculture is the foundation of civilization and a stable economy. You need agriculture if you want anything. The quality of life is dependent on it. And this agriculture is dependent on our soil. That is our future. Quality soil is what gives us quality life. And health comes only from a quality soil. But now we speak much about sustainability. Actually, the present condition of soil is poor. Do we want to sustain the same thing? How is it that it is going to improve the quality of our life? We have to regenerate it and then maintain it. That is how it. So what we need is a regenerative agriculture to reach that particular sustainability. We shouldn't maintain what we have now. We have to improve upon it. So now you can see on the right side you have dust. That means there is no soil life. And on the left side you see the healthy soil. And you see the other one which is full of life. The right side, that full picture is showing the soil. That is how the soil has to be. It has to be 40% air. That real soil has to be 40% air, to be porous. That is how the real soil should be. And so to convert the dust into healthy soil, how is it that nature has designed? I told you initially that nature is perfect and it has systems to do it. Now, please tell me, how is it that we can convert the dust into healthy soil? Which is the tool that we have invented to convert the dust into soil, healthy soil? We cannot invent it. It is there in the system. There is no life without soil and no soil without life. If there is no life in the soil, it is dust. It is soil only if there is life. So the tool that nature has to convert a dust into a healthy soil is nothing but a plant. It can only be done by a plant. No other systems. It is inbuilt that the nature has a system. Only a plant can give life to soil. That is thirsty, hungry, wounded, bleeding, and with burns. How to make dust in the soil? Soil cannot grow or form in the absence of plants. And the process by which plants does it is that only one industry that need to function in this world to give us a quality life is the photosynthesis industry. Photosynthesis is the process by which the soil can live and become more fertile. The photosynthetic capacity of the soil and the photosynthetic rate influences soil building. Fertile, humus-rich topsoil is a product of photosynthesis and microbial resynthesis, which I will explain in the coming slides. So here, what is photosynthesis? That has to be clearly understood. We are all health professionals. We have come through the biology part wherein we learned about photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is the formation of C6H12O6 from the carbon dioxide and water. Very perfect. But there are many more things that have come the recent years. That is, photosynthesis is where the leaves get the sunlight and converts it into sugars. Supposing you have the plant has made 100% of sugars has been made. Of this, 50% of the sugars goes beneath the soil and 50% goes above the soil, used for the growth above the soil. That is for the plant growth above the soil, and 50% goes for the plant growth below the soil. Above the soil, it is used for the shoot growth, the leaf growth, the fruits, the flowers, everything. That 50% is used. The remaining 50% goes to the roots. Why is that 50% going to the roots? That is called the liquid carbon that has been made, which is going down to the roots. Of the 50% that has gone down into the roots, 50% of that is used for the growth of the roots, and the remaining 50% is just passed on to the soil as exudates. For what? To feed the soil, to feed the soil life, to feed the soil micro life, and then that micro life is being eaten by the macro life. That is where the 50% of it is being given to the soil. So photosynthesis, by the process of photosynthesis, the sugars are being put. And this adds on to the 70%, 40 to 70% of the humus in the soil is from this liquid carbon pathway. That means if you want that soil to be back to that black color, you need a plant to be growing on it. And photosynthesis is the nature system of doing it. This is the fertilizing system of nature. We needn't give any soil fertilizers. We didn't purchase any inputs to feed the soil. This is how the nature is done. And there is one more mechanism. So this is a liquid carbon is one. The other one is decomposition, wherein once the plant is fully grown and when the life is over, the whole after you harvest whatever grain you want, whatever remains, the crop residue, falls on the land and decomposes and forms the top organic matter. So these two things is what maintains the soil fertility, the decomposition pathway and the liquid carbon pathway. Decomposition pathway, the oxidation continuously takes place, the cycle there. Growth, again, it falls, that cycle is there. So that is where maybe only 10% of the soil fertility is contributed from that, but the majority is contributed by the liquid carbon pathway. That is how it is. So if this is the development, this is what a plant is doing. Which is the plant that is not doing? How come weeds are also doing the same thing? The name given to that plant called weeds, they are also performing photosynthesis only. So why should we remove them? Why we see all these years we have been trying to remove the weeds. Which is the weed we have removed from our garden? We tried manual removal. Then we have tried chemicals. We know where we have reached with chemicals. So we have never. So think differently. Weed is also performing, is also a plant, and it is functioning the plant. It will only help in building the soil. So I'll just share a video.
Plants with sunlight and water perform photosynthesis. They pull in carbon from the air and turn it into carbohydrates, sugars, and they pump some of those sugars down through their roots to feed microorganisms who use that carbon to build soil. Voila, carbon moves. Plants pump it in and soil stores it. Nature's living technology is amazing.
So this is how the soil. So the right side picture, you can see the extent of top. You see the action of the decomposition pathway and the liquid pathway. As it goes down, you see the liquid carbon pathway to the extent to which the color goes. That is how it is being formed. Soil is being formed. So ultimately, the only wealth that can sustain any community, economy, or nation is derived from the photosynthesis process. Green plants growing on regenerating soil. That is the most important thing. Any decision that anybody takes that hinders this photosynthesis process is like cutting the branch on which we are sitting. That is that much crucial it is, photosynthesis, in our day-to-day life for achieving a quality life. And as Mahatma Gandhi has told, to forget how to dig the earth and to tend the soil is to forget ourselves. The nation that destroys its soil destroys itself. That much important it is. The nature's gift for our quality life is the 4 processes that happens in the nature. That is the water cycle, the mineral cycle, the solar energy flow, and the communal dynamics. It is like, the cone ice cream with 4 sweets are there, and on top is the quality life. If this is not proper, that the quality, you will not get it in the proper shape. So these 4 things has to be proper. These 4 ecosystem processes have to be least disturbed to experience health. In any way these 4 are affected, health is a dream. No medicines can help. We need to have these 4 systems in place. See, plants promote soil life by keeping the soil temperature favorable for plant growth. You just see, as in our human beings, in our case, the our temperature is taken. There is something called soil temperature also. See, that 41.9, see, below you can see the 21 degrees centigrade, 100% moisture is used for growth of the plant. When it comes to 38, 15% used for growth, 85% moisture lost through evaporation and transpiration when the soil temperature is 38. When it is 54, 100% moisture lost, and 60 soil life finished. So this happens when the sunlight directly falls on the soil. We need to maintain it below 30 degrees centigrade. I mean, same as our temperature. It should be below our body temperature, the soil temperature. And that means sunlight should not at any cost fall on the top soil, on the top of the soil. It should be blocked, hindered, intercepted by leaves, or the second option by the crop residues. It should never be allowed. From a soil that has been heated above 30 degrees centigrade, please don't expect health. Then the sun's radiation. See, it can be, when you see this right side picture, if it hits on the soil, it can be reflected, it can be absorbed, it gets heated up, and it starts sending the heat. That is why we feel the temperature is high. It is not that the soil, the fuel in the sun has increased. It is because we do not harvest the sunlight. It can only be harvested through photosynthesis through the leaves. Leaves are our natural solar panels. That has to happen. Then the second one is the water cycle, where the key is in how much rain falls. We may be getting 3,000 millimeters, or maybe 300 millimeters. But what happens after it falls? That is important. That means, see, more than 50% of the human population are now in cities. Of the population in cities, how many percentage likes rain? It is a hindrance in city. You know, if it rains, means I cannot go anywhere. That much we hate the rain. So what will happen if we hate the rain? It will lead to floods only. So flood is not because it rained more, because we hate the rain. If we have liked the rain, what will happen is we will receive the rain, where it is the top soil that has to receive the rain. That means raindrops should not hit the soil directly. It has to be intercepted by the leaves of a plant or tree, or by the crop residues. It should never hit the top soil. Then only we are liking the rain and we are receiving the rain. Otherwise, we are hating the rain. And the flood is not because it rained more, it is because we are hating the rain. And soil is the biggest reservoir of rain. Nothing else. It is not the dam, it is the soil. If the soil is not doing it, then you are holding it in the dam. So in 2 days or 3 days of rain, our dams are getting filled. What does that mean? There is no water being held by the place where it has hit. It is not a good sign. You cannot do by even vaccination or even any homeopathic medicine cannot prevent a disease from happening. It will happen. So the condition of the soil surface and what's growing on it controls the fate of the rainfall. It has to be covered by the crop residue, or there should be something, and it has to infiltrate and go down, not evaporate, or this. It happens only in a compacted soil. Compacted soil means the calcium magnesium balance is disrupted. The calcium and the magnesium concentration, what makes the soil, when it is permeable, when the air is able to pass, only the calcium and the phosphorus are proper. Calcium and magnesium is proper. So anything growing on a compacted soil, we will not be having calcium in that thing. So milk also cannot be providing you that calcium. If the grass that is growing from a compacted soil or from runoff is taking place, you cannot expect calcium in that. So this is another video which I am not pulling for the want of time. So where food actually begins in the roots. That is where the food system starts functioning. Because as I told you, when the soil is pumped with the exudates from the plant, it feeds this soil microbes, and they in turn reciprocate by giving the nutrients that the plant needs in the bioavailable form. That is how this reciprocation or this relationship is maintained. So for that you need photosynthesis, and this pumping is needed.
When you're looking at the above ground part of the plant that most people see and the roots down into the soil, that plant is putting out foods. Every bit of the surface of that plant is pouring out foods to feed the proper sets of microorganisms in the balances that the plant requires. So it's putting out what's called in the scientific world exudates. The fruit, the blossoms, all of the surface leaves, bark, stems, everything on that plant is putting out an exudate for the purpose of growing bacteria and fungi. And that's really the only reason the plant's putting those foods out. Down in the root system, all of the roots, the structural roots, the
exudates coming out of the roots.
They're all putting out foods to feed the bacteria and fungi. And of course, if a plant was putting out food that would feed a disease-causing organism, the plant would be dead. So when this plant growing its roots to the soil, starts pumping out all this food, the bacteria grow, the fungi grow, and we have now a million bacteria per teaspoon of soil around that root system. We have, miles and miles and miles of fungal hyphae around the root system. So we've got to cast a wall. We're protecting. And if the plant's doing that, how's it doing it? The exudates, so the foods that it's putting out. Simple sugars, protein, and then carbohydrate. What is that a recipe for? Cakes and cookies. So your plant is dumping cakes and cookies all over its surface, every single surface, putting out cakes and cookies to feed these bacteria and fungi so they grow to really high numbers and are protecting that root system from all the diseases that will be trying to come in. So in a healthy soil that has the proper set of biology, that plant is going to be able to grow everything it needs to grow to protect that root. And of course, then if we've got all these bacteria and fungi growing, here come the predators of the bacteria and fungi. And when a protozoan eats a bacterium, it releases nutrients in a now plant available form. They release nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur, magnesium, calcium, iron, zinc, copper, you name it, the whole list of nutrients that your plant requires. They release those nutrients in a plant available form, as long as we maintain that biology in the soil.
So that is how it is. All the nutrients that the plant needs come from the soil life. So we need to maintain that soil life to get a healthy living soil, and from which the plants and the whole thing comes. Here is one important thing that I would like to share. See, at the bottom part of the pyramid comes the production of carbohydrates by photosynthesis. First, the carbohydrates are formed, and with that, next stage is the production of complete proteins. Here, what I would like to share is a very important thing. That is, we are fertilizing, no, that we add fertilizers to the soil. The main fertilizer that we add to the soil is nitrogen in the form of urea or ammonia that's been added. And that is not a protein nitrogen, it is a non-protein nitrogen that's being added. So what happens is, when the protein synthesis takes place, the difference between the carbohydrate and the protein is that there is no nitrogen in carbohydrate, there is nitrogen in the protein. So this nitrogen, if the source of that nitrogen in the formation of that amino acid comes from a non-protein nitrogen, the protein that is formed is not complete. It is an incomplete protein that is formed. This is a very important thing that this is happening. So when the production of incomplete proteins happens, that is the food of insects, virus, and all these things. Their stomach is not designed for complete proteins. They are designed for incomplete proteins. The trophobiosis has its foundation on the premise that insect and disease pests cannot utilize complete proteins and carbohydrates as a food source. So when you have a plant with the proteins that are incomplete, it is prone to attack from, why should I say attack? It has the natural scavengers will come to eat that garbage. We call it attack, but they come to clean the garbage. So why are they doing it? Because if we take it, we'll be affected. It is for us only that it is being done. That is the perfection of that system that the Lord has created. So what do we do here? We try to kill the insect that comes to do it and eat that particular plant. So what happens? We will also harbor that particular incomplete protein. Then who else can come? The same pest and the virus has to come to our body to clean up. So how can we prevent this without taking a right decision not to put the fertilizer when the nature has a superb system of fertilizing? It is a totally unwanted act to put a fertilizer on the soil. And when you have a proper protein production, and with that help and the soil life, the next stage, the fat and lipids come. That is when you can see glowing on the leaves when that lipids are being formed. And then finally comes the plant secondary metabolites. Almost all the homeo medicines that are made from plants is and the action is because of the plant secondary metabolites that are there produced by the plant. That is needed. And they are also what we desire from them, the antioxidants are all this. You understand? Even though we eat a fruit or a vegetable, thinking that we will get an antioxidant, we didn't get it. It can happen only when there is life in the soil. Otherwise, it is just garbage that we are eating. We will not get what we need. We will have to, like, our minister, our health, civil supplies minister has given a statement that from now on, we will be starting to give us this enriched rice with vitamin B12. What does that mean? They are not being advised by health professionals. It's not being advised by vitamin. That is the responsibility or function of a health professional. They are not the ones who are, it is the industry that decides. Health professionals are the ones who have to advise. Why is it that you have to have B12? The interesting thing with respect to B12 is it is something that is synthesized by a bacteria. And the bacteria that synthesizes B12 in our system is E. coli only, which we are trying to kill. We say the water in the canal or in the well, the E. coli count is high. And that doesn't mean that the E. coli has come there. It has been contaminated. But it's the same bacteria that has to source us the vitamin B12. So this has to be clearly understood that it is the presence of incomplete proteins or funny proteins that we have in the system, maybe in the soil, in the plants or the animals or human beings. That is as becoming the food source of these viruses or pests or whatever it is. That has to be controlled. These diseases have come only after the Second World War when the nitrogen came as this produce. Before that, these diseases were not there. So that it says, the father of organic farming says, insects are nature's garbage collectors and diseases are her cleanup crew. Don't see it as a problem. It is an indication of a wrong decision we have taken. So some paradigms that if we are able to change as a health professional, that is in a fertilizer plant. Why the traditional paradigm is plants deplete the soil and hence the soil has to be fertilized after every cropping. No, the system is not like that. The plant that grew has given sufficient carbon down and the crop residue has to fall there. The residue has to fall there. If you export the residue, then you will have to import fertility. That crop residue should fall there. You cannot leave it anywhere. All the crop residues after you have harvested rice, including the rice husk, should be brought back to that place. Then the nature's fertilizing system is perfect. And now we've understood if you add anything other than the nature system, where it will lead to. Now comes the insects. Reduce the yield. They say the insects will, that's a traditional paradigm. They have to be killed. But actually, they function as insects to clear the garbage. Only the sick plants they will attack. Healthy plant will never be attacked. See, there is a meter called, equipment called Brix meter. It's a refractometer, wherein you measure the refractive index. See, you take a fruit or a leaf of a plant, take the juice, and if you measure the refractive index, it has been found that if the refractive index is above 12, no pest will attack that plant. Unfortunately, so far, most of the nature's produce that we are getting in the market today have only 2 or 3 bricks. Now it is coming up that in US and all developing countries, they are exhibiting the bricks level of that particular fruit or vegetable they have kept there to understand whether, to make the people decide and understand which one I should purchase. The cost is also more because it is more nutritious. So that is how insects do. Garbage is not given to us. They are doing a vital role to bring us health. We are killing them with a pesticide. And what happens if we have all our foodstuffs are being poisoned and we have reached the cancer stage? Then the weeds are also pumping carbon. There is no Ayurvedic medicine without weeds. All our plant-made homeopathic medicines are from weeds only. They are also pumping carbon. They are not depleting the soil. It is a wrong paradigm. Function as a plant to photosynthesize and pump fertility into the soil, adds organic matter on top of the growth is over. We need diversity. That is how it is. Please listen to this video on what happens, what has happened and why it is happening now after the application of these pesticides into our system.
We have so devastated through our farming and agricultural and medical systems as they have collided with their antimicrobial behavior We have so destroyed biology on Earth at its core level now that 1 in 30 children are now born with or moving into, shortly after birth, they will have an autism injury. 1 in 30 children. That number is even to the human experience. And I'll tell you that in 1985, the year before we created Roundup, before we started infiltrating the entire soil system of the Earth with an antimicrobial,
The Roundup is a
1 in
herbicide.
5,000 children had autism. 1 in 5,000 in 1975 to 1 in 30 today. The steepest climb in this autistic curve didn't happen in the 70s when we maybe weren't quite as aware of the condition because 1 in 5,000 kids had it. The steepest is happening right now. We are doubling our rates of autism every 3 years. We are now at 1 in 30. We will be at 1 in 15 by the mid-2020s. We are on track to have 1 in 3 children in the United States with an autism spectrum disorder by 2035, which sounds a long ways off to most of our brains, but that's 15 years. 2 more American presidents, and we could have 1 in 3 children with autism. At the same rate, we've seen 5x of ALS, MS, celiac disease, and then the other neurodegeneratives that we see going in the elderly, Parkinson's in males, Alzheimer's in women, 5x in the last 15, 20 years. We are becoming so disconnected that biology is literally collapsing beneath our feet. My team from our lab was just talking with EPA a couple weeks ago, and we were showing them data that is so freaking damning to Roundup. We have shown them that, and this isn't just my lab, we were presenting all the data, but a lot of university labs have been doing this work to show that if you inject a mouse or a rodent with a little bit of Roundup, about the amount you would see in a couple days of nutritional consumption, you inject it under their skin, they live a totally normal life, they don't have any injury from it. And so it must be a super safe compound. Just inject it right under the skin, right into their bloodstream, and they're fine. But then if you follow their pups, the next generation is suddenly struck with massive obesity, immune dysfunction, and metabolic collapse. Lots of stuff happening in the second generation. No Roundup injury to that generation. They just are back now 1 generation in. The third generation is born stillborn, severe birth defects, or cancer within the first few months of life. The third generation of Roundup babies, we really saturated our food system in 1996. And so 24 years is kind of the full generation. And so you can see by 2015, we see the second generation being born. Of course, in that journey, we were already seeing this explosion of obesity and autoimmune disease and everything we saw in the mice. But the third generation will be born in this next few years. The third generation of humans born into the Roundup era are upon us. They will look, as the experiments have all played out, as the most damaged and injured population we've ever seen. We are on the verge of the biggest Holocaust that will ever happen with the human species. 7 billion people will be witness to 1 in 3 children with autism, 70 to 80% of our adults with cancer at that moment, and the highest rates of infertility ever seen. We've lost 57% of sperm counts in all Western countries in just 40 years. Sperm counts have dropped by 57%. 1 in 3 males is now infertile by sperm count in Western nations. If we do that one more time, we will reach an extinction level of 90-95% infertility, crippled with the diseases I've laid out for you. What I just gave you is an apology to this woman for being such a pain in the ass, and I'm still talking. We have so
the use of chemicals to fertilize or to kill the pest or to kill the weed, this is what is happening. The generation wherein we started to put, nothing much happened. So that made us to put more. So the coming generations, and as he said, we know by 2015 what is happening now and what is going to happen now. How is it that we are going to prevent the diseases without changing the decision, changing the paradigm? We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. We have to change the paradigms or the beliefs. Another paradigm that we are having is the protein and calcium paradigm. with respect to milk. Oh, protein is needed, we have to consume milk and all. Generally, milk is said to have the best properties immediately after taking from the cow's milk. That is the time, because the calf also grows with that milk only. It is not with pasteurized milk or processed milk or warm milk. It is that milk which that can give. And the previous generations, long generations from which we are trying to see as a tradition to take milk, they are the sub people who drank raw milk, not the milk that we are drinking today. This milk, which is slightly warm, is especially good for bringing down the increased vata. Thus, it is said that the warm, fresh milk is equivalent to nectar. That milk, that fresh milk is called amrita, because it is the ocean. That is a particular temperature, and that is the time. That was the milk that the Munis and all those people drank, not the milk we have today. Just listen to this particular video, please.
Cooperation of German, Swiss, and Austrian researchers, published in the Lancet 2001. And what we see here is not only that in the dark, we know in the Alex study we saw that farming, yes, is protective for asthma and allergies, but we also saw two very, very important factors that have followed us ever since. It's the farm milk, the milk directly from the cow that the mothers give their children, and the contact of the stable. Because the kids get milk, farm milk very early, and they start helping in the stables very, very early. And we see here that if they had neither milk or stable exposure, the bars were the highest for asthma, hay fever, and on the right, it's a positive allergy test. If they had either milk or stable, the prevalence went down. And if they had both exposures, the prevalences were very, very low. So here we had our theme, our topic for the next 20 years of research almost. What's in the milk and what's in the stable? Why is it so protective? So in summary, now 20 years later, we can say that more than 40 studies have shown that growing up on a traditional farm will protect from asthma and allergies. And it's basically the cow shed or the cow stable and the milk. But as I said, we don't know what's in there. And this has been, we're still on our way of looking for it. It's a puzzle that is hard to disentangle. Now,
these farm children enjoy playing in the hay, and none of them suffers from hay fever or asthma. They are healthier than city children, thanks to what has become known as the farm effect. LMU pediatrician and epidemiologist Erika von Mutzius was among the first to quantify this phenomenon, and ever since, she has been trying to discover its basis.
we found that children who are raised on farms have a lower risk of developing asthma and are less likely to have hay fever or to show a positive reaction to common allergens. We believe this has to do with aspects of the farm environment, in particular with the presence of livestock and the consumption of fresh, unprocessed milk.
Unprocessed milk may be bad for city kids, but it seems to protect farm children from allergic diseases. Erika von Mutzius is currently involved in several studies designed to discover whether the proteins, the fats, or the microbes found in fresh milk are associated with the protective effect. The sooner a child comes into contact with barnyard microbes, the better for its immune system. Exposure to microorganisms increases tolerance to harmless substances such as pollen, and this works best if pregnant women continue to work with farm animals, as Marianne Otterer did during her last pregnancy.
Now it is called herd effect. This was common years back. That was how we used to keep cows, and that was how the milk was drunk. We cannot mimic that thing now. By just purchasing this, by purchasing these packets, we will not get that effect. You will lose the calcium, you will lose the protein, because it is already non-structural proteins, and you will never get calcium from the processed milk. It has to be raw milk. And that was, if you are trying to follow what was done in the past, there are certain things that was there. That herd effect was there. They were living in the stable. They were living, the cows were in front of their house. And that was how they used to drink. We cannot mimic that now by drinking this milk. Because the real fresh milk is not pasteurized, toned, skimmed, or homogenized. It is man-made. It is pakka engineering of man. That cannot give us health. So the health professional should be knowing this. And much more, as I shared last time, Milk of pregnant cow that is what is coming there. A question was there, how is it that a pregnant cow is giving milk? See, the thing is so simple. Every year, if the cow gives milk only, it is profitable for the dairy farmer. So what he does is, once the cow delivers, the cow delivers, it is the milk is for the 10 months, and every year he has to get a calf. So what he does is, by the 3rd month, he has to impregnate the cow that is giving milk. The remaining 7 months, the milk is coming from a pregnant mother, full of hormones. So you cannot expect milk in the market that you are purchasing now, which does not contain pregnant cow's milk. It is impossible. How is it that we are going to cure PCOD? Then milk of cows in heat, that is the day of cows which are coming on heat, high estrogen count. That is what we'll be getting, diseased cows. And there is a belief, paradigm, now you boil it, it will become okay, or pasteurize. There is no technology that's so far designed that can cure the disease of the cow by boiling the milk. It will not happen. The diseased cow is a diseased cow. You pasteurize or boil. Unless the disease goes, how can the milk be drinkable? So these are all wrong paradigms. We health professionals should be the ones who are to teach the public. Calf share of milk. It is full of poison because the cow is in deep stress seeing the calves starving there. Milk of cows within 10 to 21 days, that is also that hormonal change. And the uterus is actually coming to its normal structure. So that there are a lot of hormones in that. Milk of underfed cows. This is what is there. So when you change the way you look at things, or the paradigm change, the things that you look at changes. We shall be able to prevent diseases in any species only by living on a healthy landscape. Decision to prevent human or animal diseases without managing the environmental health shall not be managing the cause of the problem. So the message that I wanted to give was, which actually learned as a result of coming to homeopathy and understanding that it is not the bacteria that causes the disease. And then further on the things, when by proper management of these animals itself, many of the diseases that we managed with homeopathy also came to an end. So as a health professional, we are supposed to be the wise men in the community that we are living, and we are the ones who are supposed to advise people to take the right decisions in connection with in tune with the context that we are having. I thank you for this opportunity. I'm open for discussion.